Hi, guys, and welcome back. Today, we are doing a Starseed chat with Ismael Perez, special guest. And so he teaches galactic history. He's an author, Starseed Earth Ambassador. So we're just going to talk a little bit about DNA activation, Starseed origin, Starseed Awakening. And yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thank you. I want to extend gratitude for having me here. It's an honor to share my truth with other starseeds in an effort to kind of like remind them of their Earth mission and activate, or trigger them into really aligning with our purpose here, as because we're all ambassadors, essentially. Every single one of us volunteered, and so we are all considered, ambassadors to the galactic community. And I don't claim to be the only ambassador, but I am an awakened starseed. My journey started young. I was a kid, already tapped into the elements, tapped into the spirit. I understood things from a deeper level than most kids. I didn't really fit in with my siblings or my cousins. I kind of turned out to be the black sheep in the family. And a lot of us could relate to that, right? We're always you know the the unique person that always stands out, but yet is always being suppressed. But overall, I didn't start fully understanding my purpose and mission until I started practicing Kriya Kundalini yoga at the age of 20. And as a result of activating my chakras, after suppressing my intuition and my inner knowing for many, many years, due to my religious upbringing, I was able to remember my mission. And I knew that there was many, many millions of others out there like me. And I knew that one day we would all connect. And we're doing it. We're doing it thanks to the internet, and that we would all work as a team. And so my background is, I am a Lyran. My original home was in the Lyran constellation. My planet was known as Avion within the Vega star system.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, during the first Lyran Wars, during the first Galactic Wars with the Draco, my planet was blown. And so, as many of our homes were lost in this galactic fiasco, and as I started getting memories due to my meditation, I started also doing the research to investigate, to see if there was any substance to all of this downloads that I was getting. And lo and behold, Lily, I discovered that within the advanced, I guess highly classified level of information, there was validation and proof that that we weren't alone. That in fact, many extraterrestrial races have actually been working with our government from behind the scenes. That's why we have two aspects of government, right? We have the open government, the official, and then we have the shadow government. And so I came to unravel all kinds of mysteries about like what's really going on. I was able to trace this war between good and evil, between the white hats and the dark hats off world. A war that's been going on for millions of years between what I call in my book the galactic humanoids, and then of course the Draco-Rite Empire. And so to me that was just mind-blowing. I was about 25 when I discovered that. I'm 44 now, so I mean I was in a time where people were barely understanding about the cabal and the secret societies and 9/11 and all that stuff. So I kept it to myself. I knew the majority of humans weren't ready for this information, but I however did know that the star seeds understood this information. So I was very, very particular into who I shared my information with. And so that's why I wrote Our Cosmic Origin. It took me about 10 to 15 years to just put it all together, because I kept receiving downloads in the process. And that explains why that book is so dense with like cosmic information. It's an attempt to explain everything, like where we come from, why are we here, where we're heading, and the role of the star seeds through this activation process that we are all undergoing at this time. So yeah, that's just a little bit about myself.
Thank you. You covered a lot of bases right there. Yeah, I was gonna ask like how your Starseed Awakening started. You mentioned the chakras first and foremost. So working with those allowed you to be able to receive more of this information, right? Because that's something that I really teach is, and something that the ETs, so UFOs began visiting me at the start of COVID. And then once I began to be able to, communication began, that's the first thing that they told me was, your heart chakra needs some work. And I was like, what? ETs are telling me to work on my heart chakra? And it took me down a spiritual journey. And yeah, that's something that I teach a lot is working with the chakras, because that's really seems to be like a big key to everything is the heart. So you started working with those, and then you were able to begin receiving all of these downloads.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
At first I kind of, I'm going to be honest, I thought I was going crazy because I was thinking to myself,
Relatable.
I just, I couldn't relate it to anything, especially everything that we've been taught in this world. It was just so contradictory. Because we were taught that according to the religious indoctrination, that we've only been here for 6,000 years. And then according to the Darwinian theory of evolution, that we came from apes through this, process of like accidental evolution with no intelligent design. It was all by happenstance. And to me, just that didn't really make sense. So that's what's sparked my interest in really just researching. And so, yeah, I became an artist. How can I say it? I became addicted to knowledge. And that's what led to the discovery of all that information that I've been talking about. So it was hard at first. It was hard at first because I couldn't really share this with anyone. But the moment I came into the scene about 2 years ago, when I first got my Instagram, I started talking about this stuff. And I didn't realize that, it was going to go viral and people were going to resonate with it. And I said, oh, wow, I'm actually connecting with my star tribe that's all down here at this time, spread throughout the world. And that's how it all began for me. I was kind of just keeping to myself prior to 2 years ago. I didn't believe in social media. I was a nonconformist, like most of us are at first, right? We rebel against the status quo. We're anti-establishment for many of us. I was a rebel as a youth. I played in a punk band, preaching anarchy and freedom and all that stuff. But we grow out of that, right?
Yeah.
and so, but yeah, that's a little bit about how it all unraveled for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was very punk too. A lot of dark clothing.
Nice.
Yeah, that I feel like what you said, starseeds, you often grow up feeling like an outcast or just feeling different. And you can often feel all of these other things. So even like crowded spaces can be just super bombarding. And a lot of people that I'm talking to, new and ones who have been experiencing this for a while, feel the same, and it can be hard. I was going to also ask about a dark night of the soul, because so I do reading sessions and starseed coaching and consulting, and I have a lot of people that are just having like straight up not a good time right now. It's difficult. And for me, right before my awakening, right before the UFOs started visiting me, I was having a really, really rough time. Like my life was just flipped upside down. And then I saw in a bio about you that you had a dark night of the soul. So do you feel like dark night of the soul is like a very important key piece to awakening? I feel like it's just a natural process.
Absolutely. I mean, most of us actually become awakened through trauma, through experiencing just dark moments in life, whether it's through emotional, mental, physical pain. Sometimes those are triggers to our, we have to snap out of it because we are in some sort of, advanced video game program where our memories of who we were before we came in were like, I guess, blank slated, where the veil set in. And so, dark night of the soul is as essential as when we are in our high state of vibration and co-creating and living, in alignment with our higher self. How else can we appreciate those high moments if we don't have anything to compare it to? So I still go through that. I'm not perfect. I'm still in this human form. And it's normal. There's days where I feel like I want to go into a depression, but I choose not to, and then there's days where I feel like I'm on top of the world and I could do anything, and then everything in between. So it's normal. These are cycles. These are natural cycles that we go. that we all go through in order to actually continue, growing. Because every time we fall into a low frequency, or dark night of the soul, we actually bounce back up even higher. That's the way I see it, and that's how we increase our power. You know, because we're all growing. We're growing through contrast. We're growing through opposition, and a lot of it boils down to just being aware of who you are, and not really allowing yourself to be consumed in these low negative energies for a while. Otherwise it takes you over. So that's the battle there. That's the battle that we're all undergoing. It's the greatest battle ever, which is the ego. We're all constantly trying to tame the ego. And I think that having an ego is a huge part of having this dark night of the soul, because without the ego, there is no way of how can I say it, of feeling like we're separated. Like when we are in our ego, we tend to be separated from everything else. When we're not in our ego, we see our connection to everything. So it's all part of the cycle.
Mm-hmm. And we're all one.
Yeah.
And with the energies going on right now also, so we're basically like Earth is going through like a huge dark night of the soul. Everything has to get, from my perspective and from my understanding, everything has to get basically so bad that it shocks people awake. It's going to continue until everybody can wake up. So it's natural, even though like it looks really bad. I feel like it's a part of the plan and a part of the process. And with the energies going on right now, so I know that some people asked me about a solar flash. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about like the solar energies or the energy hitting Earth right now, because it has been very intense, especially since the Lionsgate portal and with the full moon the other day. Just very, very intense. I've been so exhausted.
Well, we are ending various cycles, not just a 2,160-year cycle, which is going from Pisces to Aquarius. We're also ending a fifth world, what's called a world age, which consists of 5,000 years. And then we're also ending 5 of those, which is a 25,960-year cycle, which has a lot to do with our solar system going around its central sun. So in a way, we're in the middle of we're shifting ages. And so the solar flash is a phenomenon that has actually occurred 5,500 times before in the history of our world, where when our solar system is in alignment within this photon field of energy, there is like ages of light and glory where everyone is one. There is no evil. It's just pure harmony and balance. And then as our solar system leaves this energetic field called the photon band, and we go back into a cycle of darkness. But because we've already completed 5,500 cycles of that, now it's different. Now the Earth is going to just be on a steady ascension journey, where it's just going to keep going beyond fifth dimension as we all reconnect back to prime creator source. The solar flash has also been predicted by all ancient cultures. They call it different names. The original Zoroastrian teaching in which Judeo-Christianity draws from is known as Frascio Coretti, and they talked about the transmutation of evil in the earth and the upliftment of the righteous within a blink of an eye. Something that they call it the solar sneeze, Frascio Coretti. According to the original Vedas and the teachings of India, it's called the Sambardic of fire. And get this, Lily, even the Latter-day Saint Church, the Mormon Church, I know it's an organized religious organization, but they even talk about the solar flash. They talk about how in the past we were cleansed through water, which was the flood, and now we're going to be purged through a fire. They call it a transmuting fire that's going to be coming from the sun, that's going to purge all wickedness and exalt the righteous. And so, I mean, this is an event that obviously has been predicted in the prophecies, and is an event that has occurred, 5,500 times in the past. As I do reveal that, civilizations have actually been here for millions of years. So, yeah.
Yeah, they've the ETs have shown me visions of UFOs and dinosaurs on Earth.
Nice.
So yeah, they've been here for a while. So that's good. There were some people that seemed kind of like worried about it. So the solar flash is it's in the prophecies, and it'll be a very positive. From my understanding, it's just like it's going to be a quantum leap, a huge leap for all of us, basically.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the greatest quantum leap in that has ever occurred in the history of our universe, because for the first time, according to Dolores Cannon, um, the entire planet is ascending. So we're all going, we're all going to be partaking of this free ride. Whereas in the past, it has mainly been an individual process. That's what we hear about the ascended beings, the ascended masters. But now it's like everyone's getting this opportunity to go into these higher levels of reality where we no longer experience suffering, death, or illness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so that sounds good. Something else I wanted to ask you about was, so I read something about so whenever, as you were young, played around with telekinesis.
Mhm.
Could you speak a little bit about like what types of, because I'm just so fascinated right now with seeing the different types of gifts that people are beginning to develop with these DNA activations, and as we go along, it's just mind blowing. And telekinesis is something that some of the ETs have been working with me on. I didn't know that it was like telekinesis at first, but that's what I do in the live DNA activations. I'm moving energy around. I haven't tested it with matter yet, but yeah, could you kind of talk a little bit about uh, your gifts and what types of gifts you think are starting to happen?
Yeah, so as a child, before my religious indoctrination, I was very in tune. I didn't see myself just as an individual. I saw myself as part of the wave, which is, the field of energy that is all around us. So because in my perception was there, I saw how every object, everything in existence was part of me, in a sense, was an extension of me. And by absolutely believing that as a 5-year-old, I was able to actually teleport, not, sorry, move objects with my mind. Telekinesis.
Telekinesis.
Teleport is a different thing. That's another power we have that we're unlocking, by the way. Some of us are going to be teleporters in the fifth dimensional world. But I started playing with telekinesis, and everything was fine until my grandmother walked in on me one day, and she thought it was demonic. She was very strict Catholic, and so she called the local priest, and then they came right away. They started throwing holy water and saying, "Identify yourself, demon." And I told them, "I'm not a demon. What are you guys talking about? I'm just a kid." And they're like, "Well, you have these witch powers, so it's not you, it's a demon inside you." I was like, "No, no, sir, you don't understand. There is no demon inside me." So, that's what caused me to actually suppress my inner knowing of things and my abilities. Because as a kid, I was still very connected to the elements. I used to communicate with animals via telepathy, and I was also able to pick up on people's thoughts. So those gifts are actually they're part of our inheritance. We don't have to learn how to use it. All we're doing is learning,
Unlocking it.
we're actually unlocking it, because and it's all about memory, because we've already had these gifts. In fact, in other parallel realities, we already have these abilities. So imagine if you just align with that parallel version of you, and you integrate that, then you're going to be manifesting those powers again. So that's what I've been talking about. When this ascension takes place, there's going to be some sort of multidimensional integration where every aspect of yourself, every person that you were in these prior lifetimes are all going to snap into one. So if you were like a high priestess during the times of Lemuria or Atlantis, if you were a goddess, right? It's still you. It's just different aspects of you existing on different frequencies, or because ultimately it's all happening at the same time. There is no past, present, or future. So you're still existing in Atlantis. I'm still existing in Atlantis. Those are different aspects of ourselves that we could actually integrate into the here and the now. So I believe that when this ascension takes place as a result of the solar flash, there's going to be some sort of convergence of all these parallel lives into the here and the now, and that's how we're going to be the embodiment of all our incarnations all put together in one.
Yeah, that's incredible, and that resonates so much. As the ETs and source and higher dimensionals were beginning to like train me, I call it Starseed Boot Camp. They were teaching me all of these things. Um, first off, knowing that you are connected to everything. Everything is just an extension of you, really helped with being able to tap into these different abilities, because it's not really separate than you. It's everything is all one. And recently I had talking about like, so the parallel realities, different versions of you. Something really, really big that I talk about is a lot is remembering, because you're not like trying to achieve, really something. You're just remembering what's already within you and what you've already done. Something else interesting, the ET sent me a dream once where I was basically like Pablo Picasso. At the time, I was painting a lot, or starting to paint and channeling through art. And what they were teaching me was, this exists somewhere. These gifts and like the ability to be like a master artist exists. You just kind of have to like tap into that. And the other day, I was visited by an Atlantean version of me. I was meditating, laying down for bed, and I saw a man with shoulder length blonde hair, and told me he was me from Atlantis. And then he showed me about 5+ Earths just in a row, and told me that these different realities are merging.
Oh my God. Did you say 5 Earths?
It was
That's
around 5.
so accurate. That is so accurate. I actually, oh my God, I in one of my Instagram videos about a year ago, I talked about the 5 parallel Earths and how they're all converging during these times. That is so amazing that you're getting the same downloads that I've been getting for years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and when this convergence takes place, that's when we're going to integrate with these other selves of us that exist in these parallel Earths that are actually like, your superhero version, your goddess version, your high priestess version.
Mm-hmm. So
That's amazing.
yeah, it's pretty trippy. I'm hoping that he comes back and tells me a little bit more, but that was pretty profound. He also told me that I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to start in 6 months.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, that sounds great. But so the merging of these 5 Earths, do you know what the 5 different Earths are? Like what? So Atlantis maybe would be one, or do you know anything more about that?
Yes, I do. So there is an Earth where Atlantis was never infiltrated, corrupted. It still exists in that timeline. It's still a golden age. There is another parallel Earth where Lemuria never fell. It's still fully intact and still existing. There's another version where the golden age of Egypt never fell. There's another version where Hyperborea, which came before Lemuria, never fell. And then there's the last version, the 5th one, is the first great seeding, which took place 4 million years ago in our solar system. And that was the great civilization of Polaria, and that never fell. So those are the 5 parallel Earths: Polaria, Hyperborea, Lemuria, Atlantis, and us.
Wow. Very, very interesting. I'm going to have to look more into that. Yeah, very interesting. Something else that, so a lot of the time as I'm waking up, I'll receive messages, or they'll communicate with me in my dreams. And I woke up last night, or the night before last, where saying like timeline. I'm just saying in case it like rings, I don't know, rings any bells for you, but timeline electricia, where it was like almost like an elliptical. They were showing me time as an elliptical.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, well, the way time works is that it's a cycle within cycles within cycles. So we live in a spherical omniverse where as it is above, so it is below. So the way I see it is the omniverse is one giant cosmic torsion field that divides itself into aspects of itself, different aspects of itself, becoming the multiverse. So each universe within the omniverse is also a torsion field. And then within each universe, each galaxy is also a torsion field. And then within each galaxy, each solar system is also a torsion field. And then therefore each planet is also a torsion field. So the way it works is, everything is cyclic. Because everything is energy vibrating on different levels of reality. So that's why everything's like a circle within a circle within a circle. And that's how, living in this 15-dimensional time matrix, that's how we're able to measure time, from one point to the next, or where we're at in the grand scheme of things. Again, because we're also dealing with cosmic cycles. And from what I've discovered is that we're also ending a 900 billion year cosmic cycle, which has a lot to do with the out-breath of the one into the many. And now that process is reversing. It's all coming back together as one.
Wow. Very, very interesting and mind-blowing. So with the going back to the like the 5 parallel Earths, what do you think that would look like whenever they all merge? So would those Earths, like, so me and then my male Atlantean version, what do you think is going to like happen with all of those different versions? Just merge and then you gain all of these memories back and all of these different abilities?
Absolutely. You're going to have every talent, every memory, every ability that you have in these other 4 parallel Earths, where you are actually immortal, where you are, like a demigoddess or a demigod. In this case, you were a male Atlantis. And that's true. Some of us, sometimes we incarnate in the opposite sex in order for our soul to gather experience, because ultimately we're not male and female. We're just energy, experiencing itself through the different frequencies of this energy matter that is vibrating on different levels of reality. And so when this conversion takes place, you're going to have the full power and scope of all your selves put together in one. So that's why I always say that we are going to be super powerful when our dormant DNA begins to activate, and it's already in process. We're just waiting for that final release from the sun to fully transform our bodies into these new vehicles that were designed for us. Yeah.
So exciting. It's like I like to tell people we are literally superheroes.
We are. I mean, only at 4% genetic material potential. There's a reason, Lily, why they don't want us to use 10% or even 15%, because even at the level of 10, 15%, we're able to move objects. We're able to, with our minds, we're like Jedis. We could read thoughts. We could remote view and go anywhere we want with our consciousness. We become non-local, just at 10 or 15%. Now imagine when we start using 30 or 40%. Yeah.
We will be like gods.
Yeah, gods and goddesses. Well, that's our original design. We were originally designed to become the new guardians, not only of the new earth, but of the entire omniverse from this earth. And that's why all the extraterrestrials covet our DNA, because we have the most advanced genetics, and we also have the God code, or the God source gene, that allows us to go into the realms of infinity, or the motherverse.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, DNA. So that's been, since the UFOs started visiting me, that's been what they've been showing me and telling me the whole time. DNA, before I even knew anything. So that's what I focus heavily on. And it's just amazing. So you mentioned something about the waiting for that last solar flash. Do you have like a guess on like timing, or what to expect, or what we can expect going forward?
Well, what we can expect is like you said earlier, things are probably going to get worse before they climax to the point where it eventually collapses and something new begins, or something new replaces it. And so we're almost there, and I think that the solar flash is going to be the final tilt that's going to completely disintegrate the current paradigm, or what we call third dimensional world, and then usher in fourth and fifth dimensional reality for everyone to be in. So it's in process, and that explains why the CMEs are constantly increasing every day, especially more so within the Lion's Gate and the full moon that occurred. I mean, I think this is the final Lion's Gate before the ascension takes place.
Wow.
So yeah.
Super exciting. Buckle up, guys. Oh, you muted yourself.
Oh yes, I'm sorry about that. I just had some distractions in the background.
Oh no, okay, you're good. I thought it was on accident. And so the 5D Earth, somebody wanted me to ask you about, like, what does living in the 5D right now look like for, say, a mother with kids and all of just a lot going on? Like, how do you kind of keep yourself centered or living in 5D? What would that look like? Or do you have any
Well,
tips?
yeah, we could start already living in the 5D with our consciousness. Just because our body isn't there, it doesn't mean that we can't already begin to anchor in the 5D reality. And how do we anchor in the 5D reality? Is through our compassion, through our understanding of things, by seeing the sacredness in everything, by seeing every single person as Christ, as God. And when you start adapting that philosophy of unity consciousness, you're already living in 5-dimensional world. And so when the shift takes place, it's just gonna it's all it's gonna do is just translate your physical form into something greater. So through our consciousness, we could already be integrating the 5-dimensional earth because the grid is already in place. Some are already there. Some that are very spiritually advanced, they're all already living in the 5th-dimensional earth. In other words, the 3rd-dimensional earth does not affect them anymore because they're already vibing at such a high frequency where the lower frequencies are just like it's almost like two different radio stations. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we could already start living it through our minds, through our philosophies, through our way of life, how we conduct ourselves, how we think, how we feel. Our thoughts and our emotions are huge factors in the co-creating the reality we all really want. So I would start by just using your imagination and your beliefs to visualize and imagine what it would be like to experience your version of heaven on earth. Because ultimately, Lily, perception does create a reality. And one of the things that we're all going to be doing in the 5th-dimensional earth is that we're going to be just manifesting at the speed of light. So that's why we're having this opportunity to actually control our thoughts and our emotions now. Because when we do translate into this new reality, we're going to be like natural replicators. So, we are going to be the living technology.
Yeah, amazing. Very similar to that's a message that was reiterated to me the other day. It's literally our perception is what is creating. It's whatever we're tuning into is creating everything. And I like to think of it as basically a giant computer. Consciousness is a giant computer, and we are literally programming ourselves. So that's where you can start, is by even like affirmations, mantras, just making a decision, what you're going to tune into and how you're going to feel, and just begin kind of programming yourself. And also through the heart. The heart is the key. That's a big thing that they reiterate to me a lot. Focusing on that frequency of love will just begin to bring everything else to you.
And that is the key, actually. More over everything, the heart.
Yeah.
The heart is our key to 5th-dimensional reality and above.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. So one other thing that I wanted to mention was Starseed Symptoms. We already kind of talked about that a little bit, but so I had watched bits of an interview that you did, and you mentioned Starseed Symptoms. You mentioned even a seizure. And just a quick story. Back in May, it was after I got back from an SSP conference. The next day, I ended up having a just spontaneous, I was also very, very exhausted. There were a lot of downloads and a lot of things happening, but I ended up having a grand mal seizure, getting a concussion. And after that, yeah, it was very intense, very scary. After that, though, I knew that it was marking a new chapter for me, and there was something bigger. I don't know if my brain just kind of like jolted out, a lot of energy, but also the concussion I knew was kind of breaking loose some of my memories and some of my abilities. And shortly after, that's when the live DNA activations that I do started becoming very, very strong, where people are feeling physical sensations, and learned about the telekinesis. So I believe I kind of knocked some of those abilities loose. That's a very extreme not telling everybody to go get a concussion or have a seizure, but that just blew my mind that you even mentioned a seizure as being like an extreme starseed symptom. Yeah, do you have any comments on that, or do you want to share any other types of starseed symptoms? Because people are feeling a lot of things right now.
Yeah, I actually had a few people message me in the last month or two about how they've experienced seizures due to some sort of a trigger or something, a major download that they received. And what that is it's basically your body. When you get a download, you're getting information. Light is information. So when you're getting a huge activation, sometimes your physical mortal body can't handle all that gamma ray. So what it does, it goes into a seizure mode. But what it's doing is it's actually absorbing. You're assimilating new knowledge, new understanding, or really you're just re-remembering things. And that's what that gamma ray frequency does. It's so powerful that in some cases it will knock people out in a sense where people will have seizures, because the body can't handle such high frequency vibrations while still, being in this carbon-based form. And that's why it's important to understand that when the solar flash takes place, we're going to be transformed from a carbon-based structure DNA to a crystalline, and that structure, the crystalline structure, will be able to harness all this higher frequencies that the carbon-based structure cannot. And so that's why people experience stuff like that, because they're still in their carbon-based DNA or bodies.
Yeah, very interesting, very extreme. Hopefully not many other people have to go through that. But yeah, I'm feeling the physical sensations, especially recently, are just, our bodies changing so much. Getting plenty of rest, drinking plenty of water, and even like for me, I've been doing a lot of readings and doing the live DNA activations, and even like I had to take a 2-hour nap afterwards because it can be so exhausting. So yeah, and do you have any other kind of like starseed symptoms that you're seeing a lot, or people, or anything else that people are kind of like telling you a lot, asking you about a lot lately?
Well, a lot of people are actually having personal encounters with their star family. They're starting to see UFOs right above their house. Some people are starting to have dreams that they're in a ship, and that means that you're actually aligning with your galactic self, because not only are we down here, we're multidimensional beings, Lily. So not only are we existing down here on the Earth as boots on the ground, but our galactic self still operating from motherships. We're still up there. There's an aspect of ourselves that's still seeing the Earth from a different perspective, from a higher dimension. And so a lot of that is occurring right now among the starseeds. Also, physical symptoms are like back pain, lower back pain, because the Kundalini energy is going up your spine. Headaches because your pineal gland and your pituitary gland are starting to open again. And it just aches and pains throughout your body, because your body is mutating at the cellular level. We are all mutating at this time. So, it's not so much about reaching the destination, but also enjoying our transformation from worms to beautiful butterflies, because right now we're in the cocoon state. I guess that's the analogy I want to share. So yeah, the symptoms vary, but it's not just physical symptoms. Sometimes they're mental and emotional symptoms. Sometimes we have emotional blockages that we still need to work with to clear. And that explains why some of us fall into that cycle where we go from this high vibrational state of being to we drop, and then we feel kind of like we're in that dark night of soul. I think the more we clear our emotional body, the easier it's going to be for us to assimilate the new energies.
Right. And healing was something that was so big. I literally spent months after whenever I began seeing the UFOs and the ETs, and they would show themselves to me, well, through like physical UFOs, but also through visions. It's how I began seeing them and communicating with them, and telepathy. And that was something so big, was healing, even stuff from not even just this life, childhood. I'm sure we have a lot of trauma, most of us, but things from other lifetimes too. So healing, I spent like at least 2 good months just focusing on healing. Anytime I ran into something, or I'd be like, okay, now why do I feel this way, or why is this happening, and going back to the root and just focusing on healing all that. And it helped so much. But I wanted to go back to, you said that people are seeing more UFOs and more of their star family. So that's my thing. That's what I love, teaching people how to connect with their star families and even like CE5 contact. So that's really cool that you're even seeing, more and more people experiencing this. And you also mentioned our multidimensional selves. So there are other versions of us. So the first ET that I ever saw, she was a woman with light blue skin. She had no hair, but she was very beautiful. And she was wearing a silver skin tight space uniform on. So very beautiful, light blue, bald woman with a silver suit. She was laying down with her eyes closed on this table. This is a UFO that I saw. It showed up as a golden orb, and it sent me a telepathic image. And then there were crew members standing behind her. After that, I would go on to, she'd be the in that group, and they told me they were Lyrans eventually. They're the ones who really began to train me and teach me all of these things. They didn't tell me this at first, but after a little bit working with them, she told me that she was me. So I've been, and she's not she was like the one that I've interacted with the most, and very, very personal level. She was, honestly, she was my best friend. They were my family. But that was just really trippy meeting. That's another version of me. And I've been visited by different, like the Atlantean version of me, and also a Pleiadian female woman of me from the future. Do you have anything else to like say on that? I just wanted to bring that up because it's just a crazy story. So that's what people can possibly begin to expect to happen. A lot of these ETs are actually other versions of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the things that I share too, that when we're receiving downloads and information, we're not receiving it from an extraterrestrial that is not, that it's separate from us. We're receiving it from our galactic self, since we're multidimensional beings. And so, besides the 5 versions of you that exist in these parallel Earths, there's also 7 other versions, a total of 12. So ultimately, we have 12 versions. The other 7 versions are versions of yourselves that exist in other planets still, in other dimensions. And so when this multidimensional integration takes place as a result of the flash, we're not only going to be integrating the other 4 parallel versions of yourself, but we're also going to be integrating the 7 other versions of your galactic and Christ overself, because ultimately we do have a Christ divine overself. And so we're going to be collapsing all that, or integrating it into the here and the now when it happens. So, many people are going to be having these experiences where they're going to be receiving telepathic communication, or they're going to be, having dreams of being aboard a ship, where they're talking to their galactic self, not knowing that that's a different version of themselves. So expect that. That's normal. That's normal. We're waking up to our multidimensionality. That's what's happening.
It's amazing. And something I wanted to add about, so the light blue Lyran version of me, very interesting. And I didn't understand it at the time, but there was a period of a few months or so, maybe like up to like 6 months, where I was communicating and they were teaching me, working very closely. And then one day it was like she was just gone. And I've only seen her, well, actually, so I didn't know. I felt like, okay, her work with me was done, but then I kind of felt, or got the download, like it was integrated, like she was integrated within me. And I was thinking about her in the bathtub like a few months ago, kind of wondering, like, am I ever going to see her again? And I looked up and I saw in my reflection was her, in my own reflection, which is just crazy cool.
So you've already began the integration process. You're ahead, Lily. You're ahead of most Starseeds.
Here to help guide others through it. And I've actually spoke with 2 other people who have also seen an ET reflection in their reflection. So it's happening to others also.
That's beautiful. That brings joy to my heart to know that we're all integrating our multidimensional selves.
It's amazing. We live in very exciting times, and it's just the love that you feel from just communicating with your other selves or your star family and, source is just so beautiful. So we have that to look forward to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me see if there was anything else. Do you have any um okay, so I wanted to just bring up real quick, Earth being like the most important place in the multiverse.
Mhm.
Uh you were mentioning how, yeah, Earth is very, very important. There's a lot of different ETs. Do you want to speak just briefly on that?
Sure, because the Earth is the ultimate completion in the entire multiverse. It is the culmination and an amalgamation of all life forms put into one planet. That's why we're called, to the cosmic community, we're considered the living library, because we have the best genetics and the best seeds and DNAs and faunas and floras and seedings from across the entire multiverse put into one spot. So in its original makeup, it was considered the intergalactic exchange center of information before it was hijacked, right, and thrown into the slower state. But that's all reversing now as we approach the ascension. So the Earth is pretty much, because it is the most important planet, not only are we receiving assistance from our own star races, our benevolent entities, but we're also receiving assistance from dimensions and levels of reality beyond our galaxy, to the point where even the central race from the always existing realms of the motherverse is stepping in to make sure that the positive ascension timeline is solid. And even this, get this, Lily, even versions and councils, spiritual councils from parallel Earths are also coming into our Earth to make sure that they secure the positive ascending timeline, because they know that what happens here is going to have repercussions throughout all the parallel Earths, and everything in the future and in the past all at the same time. So that's why right now all focus is here. And we're receiving protection and how can I say it, and guidance from every star being out there. So yeah, we have nothing to worry about. The stargates have been secured.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Wonderful, wonderful. And yeah, I recently did an inner Earth activation and live on YouTube. And the night before, I was greeted by just a huge group of inner Earth beings. Like they were really stepping up to assist us. So that's just comforting to even hear from you that we have so many. Well, every star being basically is, it's all hands on deck right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It seems like all the forces of light on every level of reality and in every dimension, the focus is here. It's all here to make sure that this earth becomes, the crowning jewel of all creation as it was intended originally.
Beautiful. Well, I think that's a good note to end the interview or Starseed chat. Did you have any other like last messages that you wanted to share? And I know you also have a book, Our Cosmic Origin, that I'll link in the description for anybody who would like to check it out. But do you have any kind of closing messages for us?
Yes, for those that haven't read my book, it is an activator. Everyone that's read it, actually, sometimes they read it twice and three times because the information in that book is so dense. It is, I call it next level intel, because it explains the origin of our multiverse. It explains the galactic history. And it also integrates everything that we are now discovering through quantum, cutting edge science, through quantum physics, superstring theory, unified theory, and ancient metaphysical knowledge that was actually suppressed for thousands and thousands of years. So it brings all that back into integration. So it's helping a lot of people. A lot of people's lives are being transformed as a result of, getting familiarized with the content in that book. And I'm also teaching online courses, Starseed cosmology courses that are also activators. We're going over the different star races in detail. We talk about the different dimensions in detail, the structure of the multiverse, the galactic history in detail. And more so, I also give like methods and techniques as far as like certain meditations are concerned, to teach others how to activate their galactic self and their multidimensionality as well. So those are like the tools that I share at the end of the class. But the class consists of 3 courses, about 2 hours each, but it is a wealth of information. And everyone that's been taking my course since June has been, they've been loving it. A lot of people have thanked me for all that information. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have any courses till December.
Mhm.
I guess that's a good thing, right? I'm booked all the way to November, but we just opened up the December class for those that, are interested in learning uh, more so about their galactic and stellar origin, or even if you want to know if you're a starseed or not, it's a good class to take.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I do that as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, we need all of those tools right now. There's a lot of people that are just super new. They don't even know if they're a starseed. But if you're drawn to this, you're definitely a starseed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, doing this interview with me, and it was wonderful meeting you.
Likewise, Lily. Thank you for having me here.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.